Oh, hello, hello. So there was a bit of a problem with, what I did previously, so I have to do it again, unfortunately. Oh, well, I apologize anyway. Today we are reading the Hellhound, alright, yeah. Yeah, this is a villain that's kind of heavily inspired by Batman as well as the Wrath. Kind of the negative aspects of Batman, really. Alright, now let's begin, shall we? This male humanoid is a superhero what? Come on, man, don't get tongue-tied. This male human is a supervillain who is a delusional, paranoid conspiracy theorist who believes themselves to be a superhero fighting against all sorts of crime. However, they often pick fights with, not just criminals, but with heroes as well. Especially ones that he deems are a threat to, others. Even if it's just, there's a 1% chance they're unstable. Oh no, there's 1% chance. He also favors He also favors, brutal and aggressive beatdowns and treatment of his villains. Yeah, alright now. He favors brutal and aggressive beatdowns and treatments of the villains, often leaving them violently bloodied and, unconscious when he's done with them. Alright, come on. The police view him as a dangerous vigilante, yet he deems himself on their side. Alright, yeah. His costume looks like it has a mask that resembles a dark mask that resembles a half dog mask over his face, which shows his lower face. And has long upright, Doberman-like ears. And he has a black cape that looks like a shadow that unfurls to reveal bat-like robotic wings underneath. He also has a logo on his chest that resembles a white skull with a scar over its right eye. Oh no, it's basically like the Punisher symbol meets Red X. With bat wings attached to the skull, and the skull is surrounded in red and white flames. Oh yeah. He also has bone-like armor over his body armor. And on his wrists and feet, and complete with sharp metal claws that he often uses to strike at enemies, usually at their vital points. Quite lethal, He is paranoid and violent, but also smart and tackle, and has multiple spatial technology belts around him that are colored white and have a bone-like custom touch to them that he made himself. Sort of like his armor. Guy resemble that Hellhound, Complete with his logo in the center of each and every one of them. He also uses them to carry various tools and gadgets that he made at home, and uses the skills and engineering that he learned to create each and every one of them. Alright, his backstory. Alright, now, time for the edgy backstory. That's like so edgy, yeah. Alright, it might seem very familiar to you. His backstory is his parents were very rich and powerful crime bosses who ruled the underworld's elite, and one day they were out walking back home after watching a movie with their son. But then someone they had ruined years and years ago due to their criminal empire, came up to them and shot both his parents dead, killing them both in front of their son. Yeah, in front of Hellhound, basically. Hellhound was, spared as he ran away from this, but he cried and swore vengeance. He decided to use his family's wealth and resources, train his body and mind to learn and master many skills that he could master as many skills as he could to fight against what he believed was criminals gunning down his upstanding parents. He kind of wasn't really aware, that they were criminals back then. Including not just in weapons and martial arts, including ninjutsu, by the way, but also engineering, robotics, stage magic, so he could learn to be a escape artist. Oh, come on now. Folklore and psychology. In order to fight against what he deemed to be the criminal scum of the city, unfortunately his violent ways and cruel demeanor immediately put him at odds with Indumati, as well as with other members of Dreams, as well as smaller hero organizations and independent heroes who actually wanted to make the world a better place instead of carrying out some vendetta. Not to mention, he thought, Indumati kind of stole his idea for a Bat-inspired, superhero. And took to claiming she was suspicious due to her more quiet and, joyful nature as a hero. What she thought was super duper suspicious. And so he kind of, fought against her kind of multiple times. Mm-hmm. All right, now this guy also hides alone in a dark cave. Never, and has never moved on past his parents' memory. But he had a real, an idealized version of them, and an idealized version of his parents and his parents' memory in his heart, and can't accept that they did anything wrong. He also knows every hero and villain's weakness and tries his best to make plans to take care of each and every one of them, which often fail due to practical application, and, instead of, scenarios that he planned. That's right. Not really working in his favor. He also believes he has a plan for everything, even when he's clearly buffing and just come on now. Even when he's clearly bluffing and just acting like he does. And it's usually coupled with ruthlessness, edginess, and condescension when people point out otherwise. He does his best to try and plan ahead for everything and every weakness, even replacing his eye with a computer to basically scan his enemies' information, as well as look for their weak points and openings. Though even this leads to him failing due to some of the weaknesses associated with relying on that kind of technology. He also is very good at escaping prison as well as breaking into secure places. No. He also boasts about impressive feats that he didn't actually do and thinks he can do, and often exaggerates stories of his feats. One time I totally, survived, falling from outer space from the space station we built. Yeah, and I used my underwear to cover up my face, and I survived being burned up in the atmosphere and landed in the North Pole with with narrowly a scratch. Yeah, that's something that Batman actually did in the comics, and it's completely ridiculous, not gonna lie. Yeah, I swear sometimes Batman is written, kind of in a bunch of very odd ways. That just got, yeah. He also, alright now. Also, Hellhound, views being tough and badass as being the ultimate mark of hero, and is against mercy and kindness heavily, viewing him as, something nefarious or being too soft and the scum of the world. Because of course he does. He also later joined the Red Cloak Hunters as a technical advisor. Alright, I will go over the Red Cloak Hunters at some point in time. Maybe later. I don't know. And was key in, in taking the guild in a more anti-monster and more militaristic direction with a much harsher atmosphere and, teaching people much harsher ways of dealing with threats. And was a deciding vote for getting rid of the Woodsman's descendants. Alright, the Woodsman, he's basically the Woodsman from, Red Riding Hood, if he was a monster hunter and, made the Red Cloak Hunters to basically be like, good guy monster hunters that would go around fighting dangerous monsters, but it kind of got corrupted over time, with new hires that, were more interested in, their greed and, power and all that. Yeah, unfortunately, that's what happens with a lot of good organizations in the world. Or, anything with really good intentions or, that start off as a promising business, really. Unfortunately. Kind of gets taken over by bad people or, things like ego and greed destroy it. Yeah, and that was very sad, wasn't it? And Bloodhound also works with a self-appointed, S-tier, evil, self-proclaimed hero team. The Bloodhounds, which are a part of the Red Cloak Hunters. They're like the elite group that's part of the guild, yeah. Anyway, that's all I have to share for you for today. Now, let's go look for somebody to raid. Somebody not filling a spell. Alright, now just do the raid. Alright, now. Raid Finley Fisk. Alright, let's go raid them real quick. Hey there, nice to meet you. Alright, I admit that I kind of screwed up the previous video because, I kind of messed up the sound settings by, trying to fix my cables. Oh, excuse me. Ugh. Sorry about that. Alright, now, Moonbat Raid. Alright, now. Hopefully this video is, comes out a lot better. Anyway, thank you for watching, and I hope you had plenty of fun. Remember to play games that have fun, okay? Bye-bye now.